This means that Donald Trump will be the 45th President of the United States.
Hey, can you hear the sound of hysteria? The subliminal mindfuck America.
Live from the Talk Radio 49 studios in North Little Rock, Arkansas, it's Money Mike Carnahan, Tropic Thunder, Tali Brim, and Sean Castleberry. It's the American Idiot Show, and it begins right now.
Good evening, good morning, good whatever, wherever you're watching this from. This is the bonus show for the American Idiots. I'm Michael Carnahan, and Joe's finally made a decision, so we're here tonight to go ahead and talk about this decision, see if it moves the needle for anybody out there. Feel free to comment, like, share, subscribe, and all that good stuff. Without further ado, I'm going to bring in my wonderful second co-host, Miss Tropic Thunder, Tali Brim. Tali, how you doing tonight?
I'm good. Look, our kitty.
Aw, your kitty's so cute. It's so precious.
He's sweet.
I think Sean's the only one that doesn't have an animal. Is Sean an animal hater?
Maybe. Let's find out.
Well, without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, he is the pretty boy himself, and he demands his own vanity intro, Mr. Sean Castleberry. Okay, enough of that. Sean, how are you doing tonight?
I'm good. How are you?
Hey, it's another day in paradise. Guys, we finally have a decision, a long-awaited decision. And before we get into who the pick is, let's just talk about this. Joe waited a while. Joe waited till what? We were a week away from the DNC to make a decision. The DNC obviously moved back because what usually both conventions would have happened by now, correct?
Right.
Yeah.
I figured. I think the RNC's actually next week, not the DNC. I apologize.
Yeah.
And of course, we're still waiting to see where Donald Trump's going to make his announcement or his speech from because, oh my God, it's such a big deal. But with that being said, of course, it is Senator Kamala Harris. And you know, the first thing I didn't realize about her is just how little time she's actually spent in Washington. She was just elected 4 years ago, and come November. I did not know that. I thought she had been in Washington for quite some time, but she is a freshman senator out of California. Is that first term, I guess, would be the correct verbiage? The first term senator out of California, Miss Kamala Harris. This is a pretty quick rise to power. You know, I mentioned a name like AOC, and you guys kind of gave me crazy eyes because of how little time she had spent in Washington, but, I mean, Kamala ain't been there any longer. I honestly think people would have lost their damn minds if he would have said it, AOC. I mean, Trump would have had tons of red meat to throw with AOC, but, I mean, just like this, he has tons of red meat here.
I mean, so when you look at all the people that, you know, there was a list of about 15 women, because first off, he locked himself into a woman when he did that. And I think that...
Hold on, real quick. I was about to say, do you think that was a mistake pigeonholing himself from the beginning?
Yes, that was a mistake because we live in a misogynist country. The majority of people in this country hate women, and 50%, over 50% of the population are women, and yet probably 50% of the women hate women in this country. They don't feel that a woman should be president. They don't feel that a woman should be in a position of power. They should
Many
be.
women are anti-women.
Right. There are a lot of anti-women women out there. So he locked himself in. That just narrowed it down and to a disadvantage. That being said, he couldn't get Michelle Obama to run. Had he got Michelle Obama to run, game over. Trump beat her, right?
No, not at all.
And obviously Michelle Obama doesn't want to go back to the White House. She didn't want anything to do with any of that. So he picks his next best pick. It's not going to be Elizabeth Warren, who does raise more money because Trump hates her and he's already attacked her so viciously. I mean, it would just be a repeat of everything that he's ever done. Now, Kamala
But do you
Harris,
not expect that to happen? He's already started with Kamala.
Yeah, but the advantage that Kamala has is that she's African American, and you expect that from Donald Trump. So that's
True.
a misnomer. He's going to attack an African American no matter what. The fact that she's a woman, he hates women already. It's how they're attacking her that really disappoints me, and it shows the misogyny of this country.
The sad thing, and we'll get into Trump's response a little bit deeper earlier, the sad thing is, there is some red meat on the bone if you want to try to appeal to Republicans here. There is some red meat here, but they can't decide. It seems like the response is, she's tough on crime. No, she's weak on crime. No, she's for Black Lives Matter. No, she's actually really anti-black people. Like, they're flip-flopping amongst how they're going to attack her, which is actually really disappointing.
What hurts her in that regard, just like Joe Biden, is her political background. She was tough on crime, just like Joe Biden. She is part of the problem. And, when we're talking about Kamala Harris, we're talking about someone who did let 3 people die on death row, despite having the evidence that could have proven their innocence. And we're talking about someone that has a history and a pride in being anti-crime during the blackout movement, during the Black Lives Matters movement, during all of this. And on one hand, I just really feel like it's pandering and it's placating at best because it's death tone.
Very true.
On behalf of the Democrat Party in general, it's death tone. They have 2 well-known politicians who are well-known for being tough on crime.
Very true. Very true. But guys, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, there's evidence of her being tough on crime. She was a prosecutor. That comes with the job. There's evidence of the things that she did while she was in office where 3 people may have died being innocent on death row. People still debate this. I don't think it's up for debate. I think that actually happened. There are many disappointing things about her.
Mm-hmm.
But
all said, I think all three of us are going to vote for the ticket still.
Right. But in American politics, what are we going to do? We're going to choose for the lesser of 2 evils because that's what we do in this country, and that's what we've done for probably the last 40 years in our election cycle. My wife and I were talking about this just the other day. Used to in this country when 2 people ran for president, whoever won became president, the loser became vice president. I think we should go back to that. It would force bipartisanship. Now, they said that back then when they changed the law, they said, well, you couldn't get anything done. Well, we can't get anything done now. So if you actually had, a Republican president, a Democrat vice president, or vice versa, and we need to do something to ratify the amendments to the Constitution as well to force bipartisanship within Congress. Because
stimulus check relief, anybody?
Mitch McConnell's stonewalling of President Obama and of any Democratic legislation trying to be put through. I mean, he has basically said how many bills are there? 600 and some odd bills that he won't even bring forward because he can.
Right.
And he's probably going to be reelected. They're saying that the lady running against him right now isn't doing very well.
I mean, he's going to be reelected.
Yeah, he's just this perpetual child that can just, throw a tantrum and not do what he needs to do just to, compromise. That's what politics is supposed to be about, is compromise. But
for the betterment of the country.
Right. But we can't because of ideology.
Well, the problem is we've been bipartisan so long, and it's really been the two same parties evolving and growing throughout most of our history. So when we're looking at that, we're just seeing people that have continued to benefit, and they stop looking at the American people and listening to our voices. And we really need to reevaluate how we participate in politics. Why are we voting Democrat, Republican, and not voting candidate for policy? Why?
Oh, no, yeah. I think we all catch ourselves going right down the party line on our ballots.
Why do we allow third-party candidates to continue to be stonewalled both locally and federally, so we don't even get exposed to them? When really, most Americans, they really don't fall far right or far left. They fall somewhere in between.
Let's be honest, ideologically, most Americans would be independent, but they have this ingrained. You either have to be Republican or you have to be Democrat, and they choose a side. So a lot of people, I don't know a lot about Kamala, or is it Kamala or Kamala? Because I've heard it pronounced both ways. Does anyone know the official pronunciation of her name?
I'm not sure. I just say it Kamala because I'm Hawaiian. And Samoan.
It used to be the Ugandan warrior.
Okay. Well, here's a video kind of giving us some introduction to Kamala Harris.
As we reported, even before today's nomination, Senator Kamala Harris already achieved a number of historic milestones. Tonight, her childhood, what shaped her, what set her on this path. ABC's Lindsay Davis on that part of the story.
Kamala Harris was born in Oakland, California in October 1964. The daughter of immigrants, her dad from Jamaica, her mother from India. It was her mother who she credits for her determination.
Our mother was fierce in her belief that you will be judged based on your actions, not your words. Our mother also, she was all of 5 feet tall. But if you ever met her, you would probably thought she was 7 to 10 feet tall.
Growing up with her younger sister Maya, Harris was bused across Berkeley, California for school in the 1960s. She graduated from Howard University and the University of California. And at 55, she's no stranger to making history. She was the first black woman to be elected district attorney in San Francisco and the first woman to serve as California's attorney general.
Take this obligation.
She became a senator in 2016, known for her prosecutorial style at Senate hearings. Today, she's also the first black woman, the first Asian American woman on a presidential ticket.
And so let's bring in Lindsay Davis with us tonight. And Lindsay, you've been reporting on this for some time as well. Senator Kamala Harris was always considered to be near the top of the list of potential picks for vice president for Joe Biden. But that doesn't make today's announcement, this decision, any less historic.
Just the headline alone, David, is history making. And for young girls, young black girls in particular, this is of special significance. And Senator Harris, when she was running for president, she often credited Shirley Chisholm, who was the first black woman who ran for president, paving the way for her back in 1972. David.
All right, Lindsay Davis with us here tonight as well. Lindsay, thank you. President Trump already weighing in, as you saw at the top tonight, saying he was a little surprised given what he says, how nasty he believes she was to Joe Biden on that debate stage. So I want to get right to our chief White House correspondent, Jonathan Karl, because, John, you heard the president was also asked late today if Kamala Harris makes this a stronger ticket. And here's what he said.
Very simply, is she going to help former Vice President Biden's chances in November, or is she going to hurt?
Well, I like Vice President Mike Pence much better. He is solid as a rock. He's been a fantastic vice president. He's done everything you can do. He's respected by every religious group, whether it's evangelical, whether it's any other group, they respect Mike Pence. He's been a great vice president, and I will take him over Kamala.
President, just before we came on the air tonight, and John, what are you hearing from the Trump campaign tonight? We know this fall, Kamala Harris will be on that debate stage up against Vice President Mike Pence.
Well, the Trump campaign will make a big deal of the fact that Harris criticized Biden so harshly during the campaign. They'll try to portray her as a far-left progressive, but she is a tougher target than many of the others who Biden was considering. In fact, not that long ago, Donald Trump supported Kamala Harris in 2011 and in 2013. He gave a total of $6,000 to her political campaigns. Ivanka Trump another $2,000 in 2014. So not long ago, he actually supported Kamala Harris, David.
All right, John Carl, always with the interesting twist. John, thanks to you.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you don't
Okay, so ABC News there gives us that wonderful report on the pick. Gave us some good information I didn't know. She graduated from Berkeley, all that good stuff. First off, before we get into any of that, I'm pretty sure I think that Mike Pence has done nothing but keep his mouth shut and just stand there as vice president. I don't think he's done a fucking thing.
With someone as loud as Trump, what more can a vice president do?
Very true. They really, honestly, I expect her to eat him alive in the debates.
Think it'll be better
and when I say I don't think, absolutely, I don't think that she's a good pick, but what I mean by that is she's not a good pick against Trump.
Well, she has to be careful about how she, debates Mike Pence. If they actually get to debate, she can't hit him on religion, because that's going to piss off, all the religious people here. I mean, if she comes out and goes, well, how old do you think the earth is? You think it's really 6,000 years old? You're a fucking idiot. Well, a lot of people in this country think that the world's 6,000 years old, and then you're going to alienate all those people. So she should probably avoid religion altogether unless he brings it up, and then she could point out his hypocrisy. That's what she needs to do.
So a couple things here that I want to hit on with her. Is she really that progressive?
No.
I think we all hit that.
No.
She's not
Trump
progressive in the least bit.
Trump called her a progressive in one sentence and then turned around in the same sentence and called her a moderate.
And that's exactly what I was talking about. How they seem to be talking out of both sides of their mouth. She's very pro Black Lives Matter, but she's anti-Black Lives Matter. It's crazy that they can't seem to, jab her.
They're doing the same thing with Joe. They've been saying, oh, he's left-wing, he's a progressive. He's one of the most moderate, right-leaning moderates in the Democratic Party.
Well, and I think that's part of the reason, you look at some sort of strategy for this pick. And I think maybe it was to try to bring a little bit of the progressives in here. Dina said the last part of the clip and how Trump donated $6,000 to her. It's obvious, like with lawyers and judges, they all talk shit about each other, but are secretly buddy-buddy in many cases. Absolutely. I don't read into it too much that Trump donated to her campaign. $6,000 isn't a lot of money to Trump, honestly. Trump probably shits out $6,000 every morning.
Ew.
Hate to say it, but it's probably true. I mean, the dude shits on a golden toilet.
Well, he used to.
Oh, well, yeah, true. He's not in his penthouse any longer.
People just think that they're progressive because they've started leaning more towards things like universal health care and other things they used to oppose. But really, when you look at both candidates, they are both right-leaning Democrats.
Yes. Yes.
And when you're looking at Democrats and Republicans, you're looking at two parties that for centuries have benefited from the way our political system's set up and now abuse it.
Here's the advantage that Biden and Kamala Harris have. They are center-grounded liberals, I guess you could say, but they lean more to the right than they do the left. And that's actually going to create a base of people that are tired of Trump. There's a lot of people out there that are just tired of Trump's bullshit, tired of his rhetoric, tired of Twitter, and they want it to end. They want to bring back a sense of decency and just normalcy to the White House. And guess what? You get that with Biden. I mean,
yes, you absolutely do.
That's all Biden has to do. Biden doesn't have to fight Trump. He doesn't have to debate Trump. All he has to say is, hey, you know what? Let's get back to normal. And if he kept pushing that over and over again, you remember what it was like during the Obama administration? it'll be just like that. Good times, very good times.
Well, and if you remember, I forget who it was, but somebody ran on restoring dignity to the White House. It actually may have been, that was their actual campaign slogan. And I think it may have been Obama in 2008, but restoring dignity to the White House. But the deal is with that, if that was his campaign slogan, I wouldn't hate it. I think that's what it is you're gonna, if somebody other than Trump wins this election, you're gonna restore dignity back to that office. But
vote for me, you won't hate it.
That's where we're at.
Well,
that's where we're
I
at.
disagree there, because when we're looking at them with their political history, which colors a lot of Americans' political opinions, we're also looking at them as candidates that are for banning assault weapons and putting some regulation on our Second Amendment rights, which that also alienates a lot of Americans on either flip of the coin.
Right.
So here's some things I want to point out while we're talking about who is Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris, when she was the district attorney in San Francisco, made a campaign pledge to never seek the death penalty as a prosecutor. In April of 2004, San Francisco Police Department officer Espinoza was shot and killed in the line of duty. And then 3 days later, Harris announced that she would not seek the death penalty, angering the San Francisco Police Officers Association. So she seems to have kept that promise. So, I mean, while we talk about the death penalty, I got to give her credit there. She kept to her promise that she would never seek the death penalty. She went from being the attorney or the prosecutor in the city of San Francisco to the attorney general of the state of California. From there, she opposed Prop 8. All sorts of stuff she did, and then of course she became a senator in 2017. Was when she was elected into the Senate there in Washington D.C. Since then, she's on the Committee of Homeland Security and Governmental Forces, Select Committee on Intelligence. She's on the Committee of the Judiciary. She's a member of the Congressional Black Caucus, the Congressional Asian Pacific Caucus, American Caucus, and Congressional Caucus for Women's Issues. She spread a little thin on her caucuses, but I mean, it's always good to have your hand in multiple caucuses, I guess, in this case.
Was that a sexual innuendo?
That was not a sexual innuendo, or at least it wasn't meant to be till after about the 10th time I said caucuses in one sentence.
Well, we know how much you love caucuses, Michael.
I will say two things I like about Kamala Harris. She does support moving towards solutions to climate change. And I do like that she's for free tuition to public colleges for, Americans. I really like that, because I truly believe with all the tax money that parents and taxpayers like myself who are not parents funnel in, we should be able to provide education for those seeking it and not normalize it without providing any funding it with all these ridiculous interest rates. Like, it's just awful. You're muted.
Absolutely, and I agree with that. The deal is with that, should you really have to pay to get an education in this country?
No, and the thing
this is the un-Republican part of me. Yeah, no, absolutely not.
And the thing is, people wouldn't just seek public education if we just normalized it without funding like we do now. It's a class issue right now. If we normalized getting, a higher education after high school, that would increase the amount of people that actually want to do the jobs they're doing versus people becoming family doctors who hurt Black women because they can't get over their racial biases and never take their vows seriously. We're looking at normalizing your American dream and everyday Americans who truly care about everyday Americans being able to access that American dream with the money their parents have funneled in.
But how many people actually realize the American dream, that are born in poverty, in America.
None. It's
You're
always
absolutely
some
right.
Actually, some do.
middle
Yeah.
class, someone or another coming up, and it's never someone that's actually impoverished.
If you're
Right.
impoverished, you have a less than 1% chance of getting out of poverty. Less than 1%, and some make it. Some actually do make it. Some is determination, some is luck, some is you're in the right place, the right time, networking, different things like that. Let's look at the NFL, for example. How many kids go to college thinking that they're going to go into the NFL, and less than 1% of them make it? Right?
Absolutely.
So it's the same
As a matter
thing.
of fact, a kid just got cut from the Seahawks today for trying to sneak his girlfriend into the hotel room.
Nice.
Ruined his life for trying to sneak a girl into a hotel room.
I mean, that happens. People make stupid mistakes, but stupid mistakes also cost people for the rest of their lives too. When they catch felonies, even though they do their time, even though that they pay their fines, fees, everything else, they're still a felon and they still can't, get jobs. They still can't, there's a stigma that goes with it. And then depending on the crime, sometimes you're not allowed to do certain things, So there are a whole lot of disadvantages in this country that people start out with right away. And, this is going to be the, look at the hump of a snow hill, the Great Well, Moby Dick. Anyway,
shut up, Sean.
this is the little socialist part of me coming out here. We spend more money than the top 10 next countries on our military budget. We could slash that in half, okay, and provide state college education for free. You just basically extend our education system past the 12th grade into college, right? And state colleges could actually do that. You could provide universal health care. There are so many different things that you could do with that amount of money. And in fact, I would say you need to slash it even more. We could close down all the bases all over the world in these wars on oil, for oil and profits. And, some rich people won't be as rich anymore, but they're still going to be rich. They'll just find.
They're going to be rich for several lifetimes still.
Right. Yeah. Several generations.
You're absolutely right about that. I can absolutely agree with that statement there.
The thing is, with our military funding, why do we spend so little actually taking care of active and, civilian, like soldiers and families and veterans? Like, why don't we spend more of that money taking care of the people that do serve this country if we love our military so much?
Because it's hypocrisy, it's bullshit, and there's no profit in it.
Yeah. It's hard to disagree with that statement.
I mean, when people talk about privatizing the VA, I mean, that's horseshit.
No, it's not. Sorry.
It's horseshit because the VA provides decent care for people, and sometimes that's the only care some people get.
Hold up now. I wouldn't quite qualify it as decent because, Sean, you do know there are issues within the VA, and very big ones. I mean, you're talking about people have died waiting for care on the VA. You wait. I remember when I was.
The exact same issues that you have in the private sector are the exact same issues that you have in the VA.
So
There's
then what
no
you're saying
difference.
What you're saying then is the open medical care system isn't going to solve any of these issues.
Right. One's for profit and one is actually there to actually help people. And if you privatize it, then prices are just going to go up, and insurance is going to go up. Prescriptions are going to go up.
But what I'm saying is on a larger scale than just the VA. If you open up to open health care for all, like we do have at the VA for veterans,
right.
then it's not going to solve the issues of people, dying, waiting for care, et cetera, et cetera.
Okay, so what needs?
It's just going to lower cost.
No, what needs to be done is you look at England, you look at France, Norway, Sweden, Switzerland, Japan, and Germany. 2 healthcare systems that we built. Okay, 2 of the best in the entire world. And we follow their model. We follow what they've done. Affordable healthcare, affordable medicine that takes care of everybody, no matter what, for the entirety of their life. No pre-existing conditions, none of the bullshit that you have to deal with here in America. I mean, doctors in European countries still make $100,000 a year. Okay, they're not millionaires, but they still make more than everybody else. They're still driving Saabs, and they're still driving Porsches and everything else, right?
And I think frequently we separate the issues of universal health care and veterans benefits when we need to be combining them, because why does a veteran that lives in Bumfuck, Arkansas have to drive all the way to Little Rock to get medical help from the VA? If anything, they should just have to go to verify the physician they choose. Privatize public, whatever they choose.
And that was something that Trump ran on fixing, and guess what? I don't think it has been. Has it been addressed, Sean? You would probably know a little bit better than that.
But when we talk
they're working on it.
They're working on it, but when we talk bettering universal health care for our entire country, it forces things like Medicare for our retired folks and VA benefits to have to be better, because your average American has this. So these people that we're taking care of now have to be able to have public and private, whatever they choose, this and that and the other.
And talking about Medicare and Medicaid right now, that's something that Mitch McConnell and Donald Trump have both vowed to gut. Social Security, Medicaid, and Medicare. And, you know, the majority of their supporters are boomers that are on Social Security, Medicaid, and Medicare. And Mitch McConnell wants to end all three of those programs if he can. Okay, he's publicly said so. Trump supports this. We get 4 more years of Trump, that actually might happen.
And you know what? Those programs are shitty anyway. Most Americans fall susceptible to programs like Medicaid during their Medicare years and before, and lose their homes and everything they fought and worked for to the system we have now, and they want to abolish it. Well, it already hurts these people.
Also,
we need to be focusing on making it better.
I'll say this much, until today, and I'm utterly fed up with Congress after today, both Democrat, Republican, fucking independent, all of you are a bunch of bastards, and you deserve to rot in hell for what you did today. Go ahead and go on fucking vacation, because I hope come November you're all going to be on a permanent vacation. But with that being said, you know, if anything happens like 16, where we get a Republican control in both chambers of legislation, which I don't think will happen. Honestly, I don't see, whether Trump wins or not, I don't expect Trump's coattails to be huge this time. But, yeah, you're definitely looking at some issues with privatizing everything and, you know, eliminating Social Security and all that. You're absolutely right about that, Sean. And, you know, like I said, I don't see that happening as far as a Republican control in both chambers again. But I see, I don't know. It's going to be hard to see them lose the representatives, and they may pick up a few seats in the Senate. I'm not sure. But, you know, once again, this is one of those situations where you can't tell with the man at the top of the ticket. You can never try to guesstimate these things, so we'll see. But getting back to our new vice presidential candidate, next stop for her, she actually formally announced a run for the Democratic nomination for president on January 27th, 2019, so a little over a year and a half or so ago. She made this announcement, and then I think she made it about 11 months before she had to drop out due to citing fundraising shortfalls and not having enough money. But in that time, in the amount of time that everything went down in the way it went down, she provided quite a few highlights, especially on the debate stage, so we'll go ahead and take a look at that.
America does not want to witness a food fight. They want to know how we're going to put food on their table. Yes? I will also immediately put in place a meaningful process for reviewing the cases for asylum. I will release children from cages. I will get rid of the private detention centers. And I will ensure that this microphone that the President of the United States holds in her hand is used in a way that is about reflecting the values of our country.
We're going to get to you. Hang on. We're going to get to you.
Stage, I would like to speak on the issue of race.
Senator Harris,
And so what I will say is that
if I could preface this, we will give you 30 seconds
agree.
of this. We're going to come back to you on this again in just a moment. Go for 30 seconds.
Okay. So on the issue of race, I couldn't agree more that this is an issue that is still not being talked about truthfully and honestly. There is not a black man I know, be he a relative, a friend, or a coworker, who has not been the subject of some form of profiling or discrimination. Growing up, my sister and I had to deal with the neighbor who told us her parents couldn't play with us because we were black. And I will say also that in this campaign, we've also heard, and I'm going to now direct this at Vice President Biden, I do not believe you are a racist. And I agree with you when you commit yourself to the importance of finding common ground. But I also believe, and it's personal, and I was actually it was hurtful to hear you talk about the reputations of two United States senators who built their reputations and career on the segregation of race in this country. And it was not only that, but you also worked with them to oppose busing. And, you know, there was a little girl in California who was part of the second class to integrate her public schools. And she was bused to school every day. And that little girl was me.
Wow. I would just like to say, number one, you kind of just laid out a blueprint, and this is exactly what the narrative, at least one of the narratives that Trump is going to ride hard, you can already tell, is can they work together? Can they really? I mean, if I'm Biden, honestly, after those comments, I'm probably like, hey, fuck you, I don't want nothing to do with you. But, you know, I'll give him credit.
Well, let's look at the shit that Trump said about Ted Cruz's dad during a presidential debate, and then Ted Cruz turns around and kisses his ass for the next 4 years.
I think we've learned that a bunch of the people that are in the Republican Party are a bunch of fucking people that lay down and fucking kiss the ring of the President of the United States. I think we've decided that. But no, honestly, as a person, if you know you came at me that hard. Yes, David said hi to me. I kind of waved at him. What's up, David? But anyway, with that being said, if somebody came at me like that, I'm gonna be pretty angry, and I'm not sure I'm gonna want anything to do with them. Let's talk about the campaign. Let's talk about her presidential campaign, at least. She was obviously one of the front runners to begin, but it seemed like it was really a two-person race pretty quick and early on. It was either going to be Warren or Biden, and I always was of the opinion if Biden got in there, he was going to win it anyway. Right. Look at what happened. I mean, even Bernie this time didn't really stand a chance.
I mean, Bernie stuck in until the very end, though. It ended up being Bernie and Biden.
Yeah, but Bernie stuck in, but I don't think Bernie gave it as much of a run. I don't think Bernie has as much of a case to say he got screwed over this time as he did in 2016, I guess is my point.
I would disagree. I'd say the DNC completely backed Biden, and they don't want a progressive in the White House. If Bernie Sanders were the nominee right now, Trump would be in a lot of trouble. If Biden had been intelligent enough to say, hey, you know what, I'm going to pick Bernie Sanders, you might get a lot of people voting for that ticket.
Right. And I mean, once again, that goes back to pigeonholing yourself.
People said that they voted for Trump because they were tired of the same old shit, right? So why not put a progressive in there? Let's get something different.
Right. Very true. Very true. And I mean, that's the thing, though. What I mean by this is it never seemed like Kamala was the front runner till, you know, the rubber hit the road. And then it seems like she was usually running about fourth, you know, behind the top dogs.
She was only the front runner for like 2 weeks.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I was just going to say it all just fell apart right after that.
Yeah, I mean, and, you know, whether that be because Trump wasted no time and, you know, kind of, he knew his lineup that he had to bash, and he took no problems with bashing each and every one of them as they became the front runner. So, I mean, Trump's had plenty of time to go after Kamala Harris. But definitely Trump is having his way with and got plenty of time to do his homework on Kamala. With that being said, obviously she dropped out in January. And it seemed like she was a front runner to get the vice presidential pick. From the time she dropped out,
right?
We floated around a couple better picks, in my opinion, but it seemed like it was kind of a foregone conclusion. I think the Michigan governor would have been a better pick still. Why? Strategically, you need Michigan. Yeah. You're not getting Texas, more than likely. You need Michigan.
I think ultimately Biden didn't really have a better pick in the end when he became the presidential candidate. So, this ticket's problematic on a lot of levels for most. I honestly feel like most Americans. I don't know a lot of people that are really behind it. So I will just reiterate that it seems just a little deaf tone. But I hope that if they do take office, if they can work together for some of these policies that they apparently agree on for the betterment of us.
So before we move on to the actual announcement that happened this past Tuesday, real quick, do you guys think that this sound clip that I have a feeling that the right is going to grab onto and sink their teeth into, do you think that's going to be a key piece for them? Do you think that's going to be something that they use, and ride it till it dies?
I mean, sure.
That's usually their best move, so.
I mean, it'll certainly be something interesting to see what happens, but of course this past Tuesday, I want to say it was around 11 or 12 in the afternoon. We got the announcement that Kamala Harris would be the vice president. I actually found out, thanks to Sean, it was actually announced. I saw his tagging me in that post before I even actually saw it reported on CNN that it was official. But interesting, the things that they said that they talked about, talking about Joe's son, Beau, and her work with him, and things like that. It seems like these two, as much as we want, the Republicans are going to say, oh, they talked bad about each other, etc., etc. It seemed like at the end of the day, these two kind of were able to kick back, and they were like, hey, it's politics. It is what it is. We were supposed to do that. But,
right.
Yeah.
We can put personal feelings aside at the end of the day. So here is the official campaign announcement from Joe Biden announcing Kamala Harris as their vice presidential pick.
All right.
Hi. Sorry to keep you.
That's all right. You ready to go to work?
Oh my God. I'm so ready to go to work.
I was raised to take action. My mother knew that she was raising two black daughters who would be treated differently because of how they looked. Growing up, whenever I got upset about something, my mother would look me in the eye and ask, "So what are you going to do about it?" That's why, when I saw a broken justice system, I became a lawyer to try and fix it. It's why, during the foreclosure crisis, I took on the big banks as California's Attorney General. It's why, as United States Senator, I have fought to represent people like my mother, people who politicians often overlook or don't take seriously. Right now, America needs action. In the middle of a pandemic, the president is trying to rip away health care. While small businesses close, he's given breaks to his wealthy donors. And when the people cried out for support, he tear-gassed them. America is in crisis, and I know Joe Biden will lead us out of it. He's a man of faith, decency, and character. He raised his family that way. I saw it firsthand with my good friend Bo. As Joe says, we're in a battle for the soul of this nation. But together, it's a battle we can win. We just have to take action.
First of all, is the answer yes?
The answer is absolutely yes, Joe, and I am ready to work. I am ready to do this with you, for you. I'm just deeply honored, and I'm very excited.
Okay, so there's a few things in that. This is the first time I've seen the whole announcement and actually watched the whole announcement. There's a couple things I want to pick apart in that. Number one, you said you became a lawyer to reform the criminal justice system, but I'm pretty sure the Crime Bill of 94 and your actions since have proven that that was complete bullshit. You said that, you see a country that's in peril because of the systematic racism. Pretty sure that you've made no help there. So, we can pick apart what she has actually said. And then she, once again, this is me nitpicking, but once again, you say he's a man of character, but you just literally in the clip before this said that he didn't do shit for black people or anything of that nature. The doublespeak was real in this. Any impressions you got off of a first campaign ad and how you felt it did as a first campaign ad?
It's better than some of the rhetoric that you get on Twitter. Obviously, it made you feel like there was a little bit of decency. Coming back to the White House, if that's going to happen, if they're going to, do that, they look like they respect each other. It was good banter between the two,
Yes, absolutely.
Let's bury the hatchet in our differences that we had during the presidential campaign, for the nomination.
Yeah, I agree.
And let's move forward. That's what I got from it.
Well, and this isn't unprecedented because I believe it was Reagan and Bush that went at each other pretty hard in the 80 primary, and of course I think myself and Tali both weren't alive then, so maybe Sean, you can speak to this, you old ass man. But those two went at each other pretty. Okay, I was gonna say I'm pretty sure that those two went at each other pretty hard, and then they were able to kind of bring it back. And they were able to kind of, work together in what, most Republicans, including myself, would say would be a successful presidency. Sean, that's not the point. We're moving on. We're talking about Kamala Harris tonight. I know you were getting ready to jump on me for that, but,
Oh, no.
But no, this isn't unprecedented. A lot of times you see the runner-up or one of the runners-up in a presidential primary end up becoming the vice presidential pick. So, really though, recently, Pence wasn't in the primary. Was Biden in the primary when Obama won?
Biden didn't run back then.
Okay, so Biden wasn't in the primary.
He was the vice presidential pick to begin with.
And neither was Cheney. I think Gore is probably the last vice presidential pick that was actually in the primary, so maybe it's not as often something that happens as it used to be. But you would bring the party together because that's how you did it. Hey, we were the two biggest vote getters in the primary. Let's combine.
Well, it's same like Sean was saying earlier that the winner would be president and the loser would simply be vice president.
That's the way it should be.
Honestly, could you imagine, though, a Donald Trump presidency with fucking Joe Biden as the vice president? Those two would literally have a slugfest in the fucking White House.
I don't think they would. I think Trump's...
You think they'd get along and work together?
Trump's a coward.
I think Biden would try to work with Trump. I think Trump would shoot down anything Biden says.
And maybe he would, but Trump's a coward. He's always been a coward his entire life, and he would do everything that he could to keep Biden out of the White House. He'd send him off. Go do this, go do that, blah blah blah, whatever.
Yeah.
Right, absolutely, and I do agree with that statement. So obviously we know he's not far off from making statements, and here is Trump's response before we get into what we think about the ticket.
Trump before the cameras at the White House just a short time after Joe Biden and Kamala Harris spoke. In a new interview today, he had already called Kamala Harris a disaster, labeling Biden and Harris as socialists. And tonight, what the president again said about suburban housewives here in the U.S. Here's our chief White House correspondent, Jonathan Karl, tonight.
Just 2 weeks ago, Donald Trump said Kamala Harris would be a, quote, fine choice to be Joe Biden's running mate. Today, he called her a disaster.
She is a disaster. She's going to be a disaster, I think, for their party.
And in an indication of how he's likely to take on Biden and Harris as the campaign goes forward, he called both of them socialists.
I heard, actually, she's the most liberal person in all of Congress. That's what I've heard. More liberal than Bernie Sanders, believe it or not.
So far, Team Trump has been all over the map in their attacks on Harris. A Republican Party spokeswoman, for example, tweeted Harris is, quote, completely controlled by the radical left. But an RNC press release then declared liberals are in revolt over Biden's choice. On a call with reporters, Trump surrogates called Harris, who is a former district attorney, both too soft on criminals and also too tough.
I don't want someone who says that they are not going to be tough on hardened criminals.
Minutes later,
she fought to keep inmates locked up in overcrowded prisons.
and as Biden welcomes the first black woman to a major party's presidential ticket, President Trump is now publicly embracing a Republican candidate for Congress from Georgia with a history of making racist, anti-Semitic, and anti-Muslim statements. Marjorie Taylor Greene is also an outspoken supporter of the baseless QAnon conspiracy that the president is fighting a so-called deep state and what she calls a, quote, global cabal of Satan-worshipping pedophiles. Greene declared victory last night with these words about House Speaker Nancy Pelosi.
She's an anti-American, and we're going to kick that out of Congress.
And today, the president tweeted that Greene was, quote, a future Republican star and a real winner.
So let's get right to John Karl with us live in Washington tonight. John, the president knows he needs women voters this fall, and today he tweeted a message saying the suburban housewife will be voting for me.
David, he's attempting to appeal to suburban voters, a key swing group, by playing on racial fears. Here's the actual tweet. He tweeted, the suburban housewife will be voting for me. They want safety and are thrilled that I ended the long-running program where low-income housing would invade their neighborhood. But, David, it's not clear how many modern American women will respond to this racially charged appeal to, quote, suburban housewives.
John Karl tonight. Thank you, John.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos.
Shut the fuck up, George. Holy shit, that tweet. Is that real?
Yes, and it's absolutely racist because he's clearly referring to.
He did not just say invading their neighborhood. Oh
yes,
my God.
He did. He said that shit.
Oh my
God. And not only that,
Sean.
talking about the other lady that was on there saying how, there's a cabal of pedophiles in Washington and Hollywood.
Well, I mean, that's probably true.
Absolutely ignoring Donald Trump's association with those people.
I mean,
Right.
you can be both right and wrong at the same time, I guess, because she is right, there is, but, you're also fucking supporting Donald Trump.
Hold on a second. Now, for there to be a cabal, this conspiracy of a cabal of pedophiles in Hollywood and Washington, I mean, we know that pedophilia happens. We know that it has happened a lot in Hollywood, but a cabal that mixes together Washington and Hollywood. Well, I know that Epstein was doing all of that, but where's everybody else?
What I'm saying is Epstein's the link.
But is he really? Why? I mean, Trump had a private party with the guy with what, 27 other women?
Yeah.
No, that's what I'm saying. You can be both right and wrong at the same time.
But the right doesn't care about that.
You're right. You're right.
Had it been Obama with all those allegations and that history behind him, he would be ridiculed. And there's like a couple of Photoshop pictures going around where he is being ridiculed, and but we ignore the actual hard evidence and decades of relationship that Trump actually had with Epstein.
What was that statement you made that Trump made? He only had sex in common with his daughter? Like, bro, come on now.
That is so disgusting.
That makes me want to vomit just thinking about
That makes
it.
my skin crawl.
Yes, it absolutely does.
I mean, Trump would go on the Howard Stern show and talk about how he would like to have sex with his daughter.
Yeah.
I mean, there's something fundamentally wrong with this guy, but the right just loves him.
Once again, he defies all logic. He really does. He defies all fucking logic.
I don't
when
think
it comes
he
to
defies
politics.
More
logic.
about having a mutual hate than a mutual thing to agree upon.
The
They love
religious-
Donald Trump because he feels their hate. It's like the day.
Does he really though? Honestly, and I still believe the fact that Donald Trump's just this fucking guy pulling strings, and he knows what strings he has to pull. I don't think he believes a fucking word he says.
I believe he says most of the words he says.
I really don't think that Donald Trump is racist. I think Donald Trump knows he's going to say racist things and piss off enough white people
He's been sued for racism. The earliest case was, I believe, 1974. Throughout the 80s, throughout the 90s, and that was before his presidency. People act like he was only accused of racism because he ran for president. Nah, he was accused for racism for the way he treated fellow New Yorkers as a real estate.
I was about to say he was a shitty businessman in New York. I think that, yeah, I can definitely agree with that. But I mean, then again, if you look at any businessman, you can say they're a shitty person.
Yeah, they're shitty people, but he was overtly racist.
Oh yeah,
and his business practices were as well.
Okay.
Those kids from New York that the 5 guys that were accused of raping that girl.
Yeah, the Central Park 5.
To this day, he says that they should be put to death. He still says
And they're
that.
proven innocent.
They have been proven innocent. The woman who accused them of that recanted everything, says she made it all up, but Trump doubles down. Anytime you bring up the Central Park 5, he says that they should be prosecuted. To this
I don't
day.
know. Maybe it's partially my brain can't literally wrap around just how shitty a human being can be. But you know what I'm saying? I'm like, man, can somebody really be this fucking terrible of a human being? I guess apparently they can.
I had to cut my time short, guys.
Okay. Well, real quick here, we'll go ahead and go to the last topic here. Real quick, before we hop off of here, bonus episode. We'll start with you, Tali. How do you think this announcement will affect November 3rd?
I think that for anyone who simply wants Trump out, this really was Biden's best pick, especially with everything we have stacked up against us and the way he cornered himself with his mouth and limited his, picks. I do still think this is going to be Trump's election to win and Biden's to lose, as we've said a few times on the show.
Very true. I mean, once again, I think if anything, he just handed Trump the keys to victory. I don't mean to be shitty like that, but you're right, Tali. In my opinion, this was done to pander to get that African American vote. Once again, it's kind of like me and Sean were talking about with you Monday evening. He was probably a little bit bullied into this decision. Obviously, he's not going to say that, but I'm surprised Trump hasn't said that yet. And the fact that I've just seen such a split in the Democratic Party over this because of her stance in crime. I just don't think it's going to work out. Sean?
I would just say that, going back through her career, she's been really tough on crime. She was a prosecutor. You have to look at, what that job entails and what she's supposed to do. Now that she's become a senator, she's moved more away from that, right?
Right.
People change as they get older.
True.
This
True.
is what happens. Life is all about change. Biden did the same thing in his political career, where, as Kamala Harris actually stated, he fought against busing children to other schools. But
Yeah.
he has changed his position over the following decades, because he's matured and he's grown as a human being. So we can take everything that they did 20 years ago and say, this is who they are. This is what they really believe. Or you can actually look at what they're saying today, and this is what they want to do. Now, Donald Trump has been an asshole all of his life, continues to be an asshole, and is still an asshole today. So I guess basically, do you want an asshole to stay in the White House, or do you want someone that's actually going to try to do something to help everybody?
Very true. Very true. How do you think it affects the? Do you think it moves the needle one way or the other with the addition of Kamala Harris?
I mean, we have what? It's August, September, October. We have 3 months until the election. Anything could happen. I mean, he could slip on the White House steps and crack his neck, and that'd be it. And Pence is the president.
Oh my God! Don't say that. Don't say that.
I'm just saying anything could happen.
Don't put that evil on me, Ricky Bobby.
Yeah.
Right? I would rather have Donald in the White House than Pence. Definitely.
Yeah.
Pence is insane.
So real quick before we wrap up, I think we've all decided that we don't think this was, this is going to make an effect. One of my friends in talking the day of said that this was a genius pick. And he said it wasn't a genius pick to win the election, but it was a genius pick to do what Trump said he would do back in 2016. And that's to actually expose the bullshit going on in Washington. And he says he thinks this is a deeper play by the Democratic Party for 2024. Any truth to that, you think?
No.
I'm skeptical of conspiracies in general,
or
like far-fetched theories of like deep movement like that.
I mean, unfortunately, if you look at Congress and the House of Representatives, once you get elected to those offices, like a junior senator, you are required to work on your re-election campaign for the first 2 years, like heavily. That's all you're supposed to do. I saw this whole background thing on Tom Cotton when he actually got elected the first time and what he had to go through. And you don't spend any time in your state. You're just on the phone trying to raise money, and you're calling the Koch brothers and people like that, right?
Yeah.
Or if you're a Democrat, you're calling George Soros, I guess.
Yeah.
But it's funny that people like Mitch McConnell, who go into Congress making 100 and some odd thousand a year, within 10, 20 years, are worth $24-25 million. I mean, how does that $100,000 a year salary add up to $24 million? Because they're taking all this money from these lobbyists and different groups. That's what we need to stop. But no one in Congress or the House wants to stop that, because they're the ones making all the money. So until you what?
Go ahead. Oh, no, I was just going to say, you don't think this is a deeper play for 2024 for Kamala?
No, not at all. I don't think that at all. America will not be ready to elect a woman as the president of the United States until we have more than 60% of our population living as a secular society.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's how far it has to go before then, and we're nowhere near that. Religion in this country controls the majority of this population, no matter what they are, and the majority of religious people are very misogynistic and they hate women.
Very true. Very true.
I would agree with that.
I mean, I would definitely agree with you. There's a lot of and it's been exposed since Tuesday afternoon. I want to make something very clear, by the way, and I think we can all agree on this. I'm not saying that Kamala Harris would be a terrible vice president, and I wouldn't like to see her be vice president. I just don't think it's the move. If you want to win, Joe, I don't think it was the move. And honestly, I'm the guy who, before this all started, I was like, if it's Joe Biden's going to fucking win. It's Obama. It's Obama's legacy. Joe's going to fucking win. Here we are, 3 months before, and I we're going to be there that night on November 3rd, and I have a feeling we're going to be calling for 4 more years.
We might be.
Final? Go ahead.
I mean, hopefully Trump gets caught grabbing someone by the pussy, and then that'll be it, and he'll lose.
Well, I mean, one more thing to keep in mind. Apparently, rather quietly, Trump's bank records were seized this week by authorities in New York. So, I mean,
that's awesome.
We can hope, but nothing's ever come of this shit. So, I'm not necessarily optimistic.
Well, the Democrats definitely wasted their chance going after Trump on the whole, Russia conspiracy.
Yeah, that was dumb.
They wasted all that time, all that effort. To do the impeachment, and they should have known they didn't have enough. They should have waited until there was a smoking gun, or at least just, sit back and let the man look like an idiot. They put him on the defense for 3 years. And which
is where he likes to be.
Yeah, and it just emboldened his base. That's all it did for 3 years. And if they just let well enough alone and let him do what he does on Twitter, I think people would have gotten really sick of his shit.
Yeah. Very true. I mean, you look at it, and I think a lot of it goes back to they probably wanted a little bit of, well, you did this to fucking Obama, so we're gonna fucking be dicks to you.
I mean, in one day,
childish games don't work very well.
In one day, he put out like 1,200 tweets. He was tweeting like every minute and a half all day long.
Jesus Christ.
And sometimes just multiple times. Yeah, so he was just sitting in the White House or wherever he was at. He was on Twitter all damn day. He didn't do a White House briefing. He wasn't reading everything that the Defense Department brought him. He was just sitting there watching Fox News and tweeting all day.
By the way, real quick, and this I promise will be the final thought because I know, Tali, you got to go. But real quick, final thought before we let you go here and we get off of here for the night. Thoughts on Congress leaving today without a stimulus relief package bill?
It's pathetic. It should have been done. The American people need it, and they're going to go on vacation. They're getting paid, and they don't care. That's just another point of what I was just trying to say before about them becoming millionaires and everything. They get their money. They don't care. They vote for a raise every year, and they usually get it, right? They don't care that people are going to be evicted, that people aren't going to have health care, nothing.
It goes back to the fact that, and I'm so tired of Nancy Pelosi. I think Nancy Pelosi, I wish she would get voted out. I wish Chuck Schumer would get voted out. I wish fucking Mitch McConnell would get voted out. Who the fuck's the Republican lead in the fucking House of Representatives? Because he needs to be voted out. Because
why don't we have term limits for our senators in our House of Representatives?
Here's my thing, though. Nancy, why the fuck isn't Donald coming to the negotiation table? Why isn't the Republican... Donald comes back with, I'm sitting here in fucking Washington. Where the fuck are you? First time I've ever been like, well, fuck, Donald has a point.
Right.
Don't make me say Donald has a fucking point. I almost vomited. But, I mean, neither of them are looking good at this point. Neither of them are looking good, and both of them want to politicize the hell out of this fucking virus.
Right.
And it's getting sad. But, Tali, I know you gotta go. Sean, I guess we're gonna go ahead and roll on out till Monday. Antonio should be joining us again, and I think we're gonna have another special co-host as well come Monday. So definitely gonna be fun to get their opinions on this pick and anything else that may explode between now and Monday.
Are we going to have our special subject Monday?
Have you watched House of Cards yet?
Have you found out if Jesus is real yet?
You know what, sir? You stop it. You go watch House of Cards, and then we can have our special subject.
Well, I'm out, y'all. Bye.
All right. Bye. So I thought that's what we were doing Monday was the whole religious debate.
I mean, we may get into it. I don't know. As far as I know, we'll just play it by ear. If we have time, we'll tease it a little bit. But I figure we'll do it as a bonus episode for our fans right here on Facebook Live and YouTube. But Sean, anything else before we get on out of here about the pick and what's going on?
vote Biden-Harris if you want a better America.
Please, I implore you. But ladies and gentlemen, for Tropic Thunder, Tali Brim, for the pretty boy right there. Motherfucker, I can't do it right. Right there. Sean Castleberry. I am Michael Carnahan. Dana, I don't know yet. Good night, everybody.
All right.